Uh, Akibda, are you there?
Yeah, hi, I'm here.
Yeah. So let's start then. So hello everyone. Welcome to this event organized by our alumni team. So today we have with us one of the distinguished alumni of CU, Akib Mehboob. I am Ranjul and Tiasha will be the host for today. So this session we have divided into two main components. In the first section, it will be based on questions that we have received from the attendees, and the next part will be the questions from the audience if they have any. We have compiled the important questions out of the many that we have received in the form, and it is advised that everyone write their questions in the chat box as we go about the session. So before we start with the Q&A session, let me tell you a bit about Akibda. So he did his BTech from CU. He is from the batch of 2017 to 21 and is presently working as a member technical at DShaw. He's an expert at Codeforces and he's a 5-star at CodeChef. His achievements include the great performance at Google Kickstart with a global rank of 194 and a rank of 38 at CodeVita Season 8. So there's a lot to name a few. So Akibda, it will be great if you can share a bit about your journey of your 4-year BTech at CU.
Yeah, sure. So, hi everyone, I'm Akim Mehboob. So, as Ranjul said, I am a 2021 graduate from University of Calcutta. I was in computer science and engineering. So, during my BTech days, my most of the time was spent doing competitive coding. It was around competitive coding. So, we'll get to that later as to how I got started with competitive programming, and you can do the same as how you can get started with competitive programming. I'll share about that later. So as for my journey, so when I joined computer science in CU in 2017, I didn't know anything about computer science. I just joined because everyone else was joining computer science. So I was like, okay, I have to do engineering, I will be doing it in computer science, and I left other better colleges which I was getting through WBJE to get computer science in University of Calcutta, even without knowing that, even without writing a single line of code till before. So I in class 10 there was no computer in my school, and in class 11 I did my schooling from Scottish Church Collegiate School, and there I took statistics. So I didn't know what coding was or anything about it, and still I joined computer science. So in my first semester, I remember we had a course on just starting out with programming like C, just starting out with
Yeah,
variables and expressions and for loops, such basic kind of stuff. And and because I was new to college, I was a bit of a slacker. I didn't pay much attention to studies, and I didn't even try to get started with C. I never studied it. So one day before the final semester exam, I remember I was memorizing the codes, like codes to find the sum of an array and all of that such, like simple bubble sort or even binary search. I was memorizing the codes for that. Yeah, I remember that, and at that point, I realized that I need to do something about after the semester ends. I need to do something
yeah,
about, like, I can't survive in computer science without knowing how to write a simple for loop. So that semester, the next day exam, I won't say much, but I got around. I still remember, not around. Got exactly 53 out of 100, while the rest of the batch, because the paper was so easy, almost all of them got above 90. So in computer science, so that subject was there for every batch. From computer science to JFD or say CT, everyone had that subject. and I am pretty sure I was the lowest among all of the batches. And in computer science, everyone got above 90. I got 53. So that was the point I realized, okay, I need to do something. I need to learn programming. So I went to a private tutor in second semester. So in second semester, if I remember correctly, we had no computer science subjects. We just had like these electrical and engineering, drawing, and all of that. But we had no computer science subject. But I still I had to learn it, because from the second year onwards, where there will be a lot of computer science subjects. So I started learning I started learning programming from a private tutor. So over the span of next 6 months, I was mostly invested in doing basic coding, like simple as all algorithms I mentioned before, like
Yeah, yeah.
sort of sorting, binary search, arrays, strings, and whatnot, linked list, and all of those. Next 6 months I did that. And at first I struggled with it. I wasn't finding it finding interesting, but slowly, as time, I was pretty lucky to have that professor, that teacher, as my tutor. And slowly I started building. Then he introduced me to a platform called HackerRank. And my course over there was complete, but at the almost at the fag end of the course, he introduced me to a platform called HackerRank. And that was the first time I was so much invested in coding. Okay, like I thought, this is it. This I can do all day, like just writing a code and getting the results. It gave me instant gratification. It gave me instant pleasure to get an code accepted, and started out with HackerRank. So I started out doing coding like on these online platforms from the third semester. And um, from the third semester, I started out on HackerRank. Then I moved. And then I moved slowly to CodeChef, and then I came to and CodeChef was refreshing for me, and then I moved to CodeForces. So slowly these things started to make sense. Also in the first year, there was we have this Code Combat in our fest, right? If you I don't know if
Yeah, yeah.
guys know about it. It must not be happening from the past 2 years because of all this COVID and all. But we used to have it an annual fest, and we used have to have a contest called Code Combat. So in the first year, I wasn't able to I didn't participate because I didn't know coding. It happened in my first semester. As I said, I didn't know any coding, so I didn't participate. And by the time in the second year came, I was already the main lead problem setter in that Code Combat, in the same contest, in a year of time. So so that was
So
interesting to
that's
me.
a big jump.
Yeah, from didn't participate because I didn't know coding, to become the lead problem setter. I think, yeah, I did some work in that one year. And that was also the time when I became the member of Code Club. We did organize some contests for our juniors who were in first year. When we were in second year, we organized contests. I think 3 or 4 contests were held. Also Code Combat. There were two types. I don't remember the name, but one was for first and second year. It was a slightly easier version than the Code Combat, which was open to all, something of that sort. So those two contests also we organized, and I think it was pretty successful. I think the guy I don't remember, but the guy who won, I don't remember his name, but the guy who won that Code Combat, he was from Heritage Institute of Technology, and is currently working as an software development engineer in Code Chef itself from the past 2 years. So yeah. So it was a good contest for us, where we saw a lot of participation. That was my first experience as a problem setter. I enjoyed being on the other side as a problem setter, making test cases. And all during all this time, I realized I'm getting more invested into this world of competitive programming, and this on competitive programming on online websites. So I remember doing competitive programming for another 1.5 years, I believe. And like I used to hear the stories. Okay, this guy from Kalyani Government Engineering College, or this guy from Jalpaiguri Government Engineering College, these are getting these placements. I used to think, okay, like okay, maybe if I continue doing this, I will also get such sort of placement. They're getting 6 month intern offer from here in the final year and all of that, 2 month in the third year. So I was thinking a lot about that, and that was my sort of, apart from enjoying competitive programming, that was the motivation for me to continue doing competitive programming. And when I think I was around in third, I was in third year. I started applying for this 2 months intern and all of these, and that is when reality struck me. Even though people say that if you are good, like even if you are 5 star on this, or let's say expert on code chef or candidate master on code, sorry, expert on code forces and candidate master on code forces, interview is all about luck, I believe. I'll talk about that later. But just because you are good at something doesn't mean you are good at an interview. You may lack some skills required in an interview to, like, to portray a good image of yourself, good image as in the put a good problem solver as in the front of the interviewer. So all these things lined up, and I started getting rejections. I'll name the list of the companies I got rejection from in my I think I was in third year, and towards the end I started getting rejections, a lot of them. And and I looked around myself, and I, like, nobody in my college was doing competitive programming. Everyone had, in my batch especially, juniors were doing competitive programming, but in my batch there were none. So like, and I had a couple of friends who did on and off competitive coding lot, like that wasn't the first reference. So on the rest of the batch were inclined towards MBA or Gate, which is also pretty good. So that is what, like, I was quite alone on this path. Like, I had no one else to talk, like, where I can discuss these problems, counter coding problems, or on stuff like that. Apart from being online, I made a quite of good friends on Code Forces. We had a group, like, of random people, like all over, like, who were in third or fourth year, who were doing competitive. So that was there, but still that everyone had so in that group there was a guy from IIT Bombay. So the issue was that he knew that if he did competitive programming, he will certainly get into some top-notch company because of on-campus placements. But I didn't. But that was not the case for me. There is no on-campus product-based. There were no product-based companies came at that time. I don't know right about what is the scene right now, but at my time there was no product-based company in like. On campus. So these things crept into my mind, and then I started preparing for GATE computer science. I started preparing for GATE, and then is when I stopped doing competitive programming altogether. Like, I just did lead code. Lead code, I don't consider lead code as a competitive programming website because it's an interview preparation platform. It is not competitive programming. So I did stop competitive programming, but I did a subset of it, that was lead code. So I was participating in lead code contest, doing one or two problems daily and all of that during my GATE preparation. And this continued till all my fourth year, till GATE happened, and then my GATE didn't go well. Then I started preparing for PGE. That is the entrance exam for Triple IT Hyderabad MTech, and I did well in Triple IT Hyderabad MTech, in PGE, sorry, and I got into Triple IT Hyderabad MTech. So I started the course there, but at the same time, I was all along the year I was applying. I was sitting in interviews and all of that. And then, never, like, of course, I was getting rejected everywhere. And while entering Triple IT Hyderabad, I also applied for DE Shaw, along with a couple of other companies. I applied for DE Shaw. Their online assessment didn't come. Didn't come. Also, I got a job offer from another company, which I'll share later. So that I rejected because, like, I thought I will get a much better opportunity on on-campus placements in Triple IT Hyderabad, and I continued and went to do MTech by rejecting the job offer. So that was my first success, apart from those on-campus placements in like one or two. I got one or two offer from service-based companies as well, but that was never my intention. I never wanted to join a service-based company. I always preferred MTech over it. So I did get a job offer from a product-based company, which I rejected and went on to do MTech. Also during that time, like, D Shaw was the final company I was looking into. Final two companies I was looking into. Like, okay, if I get the job offer, I can drop MTech. but they didn't respond to my they have the online assessment. They didn't respond to my performance in the online assessment, and then I started doing MTech. I completely forgot about them, and then suddenly a call came that okay, we have an interview for a scheduled on this date, and are you willing will you be able to join? So I said yes. And then in the subsequent weeks they had four rounds of interview, and I finally got the offer at the end of September, and I joined the show uh, in the start of October by quitting MTech in Triple IT Hyderabad. And I've been doing my job since ever since 2 months till this session. So that is my story on.
So that was really kind of roller coaster ride, starting from the first year until now. So, how is your experience till now working in the dream company of all the young professionals out there?
uh, I think the work you do is nothing related to the things we study in college. It's not even remotely related. So, the work, my experience has been so far good. Like my team is pretty good, but it is quite hectic, as it should be. At the start, if you start a job, like you have to know what the tech stack they are using, what you have to get around the code basis. So at the start, it was pretty hectic. It's getting a slightly less hectic now, and I'm hoping that in a couple of months of time, I will be like, oh, okay, yeah, this is okay. Like I'm in my comfort zone now. So that will happen. But
So,
right.
what kind of responsibilities are given? Like,
So,
what kind?
I'm in QT group. So most of my responsibilities include automating test cases for the developers. That is my responsibility.
Okay, great. So let's start with the Q&A sessions, the questions that we received from the audience. So the first question that if you can describe briefly the steps of the entire process of getting into DSHA, and maybe if you can tell us about the important DSA topics that were asked in the whole hiring process.
Yeah, sure. So I saw a post on LinkedIn from one guy. It was just my connection. I never knew him personally. So he was just a connection on LinkedIn. He posted this about this job opportunity, and he said that if you want, you can send in your referral. I sent him my referral and just pinged him about I am interested in this, and he looked through my resume, and then he referred me. I then got after some time back. I then got the link for online assessment. In online assessment, there were three questions as far as I remember, and one of the questions, two were of basic. I think it was array string simple implementation problems, and one was from DP. Yeah, one was from graphs, sorry, one was from graphs. So I solved all three of them. Then there was a long gap. Then they called me for the first round of screening. So screening round is what D shot does it. If this person is literally worthy of sending us into the actual technical round, that is the screening round. So all of this was online. So but in actual scenario, when all of these online thing remove is off, then actually the screening round is online, and then they call you for an in-house interview at their office in Hyderabad. So they will pay your ticket, pay your play your flight ticket, and pay for your hotel, and also have hotel and all of that stuff. And uh, yeah, so that didn't happen for me. After the screening round, there was an in-house interview after a couple of online. So uh, uh, in screening round, I believe I was asked something of I was asked I think a normal problem. I think it was 2 point. If if I remember correctly, it was around the pointer thing. So if you guys know two pointer, you will get to know if you deep dive into this. It was about two pointer, and then I was asked some things about OOPS, object oriented programming, and that was my screening round. And then in the in-house interviews, again the same thing happened. They will ask two questions. In the first round, it was pretty easy for me. It was both lead code level question, medium questions, not any complex algorithms as such. And followed by discussion on your resume, on the projects you did, and if you have any internship experience and you want to talk about it. I didn't have any. So in the second in-house interview, then they asked me about, they gave me a hard DP question. And by hard mean actually by hard I mean actually hard, not as an easy question. I think that was the toughest round of all those. And after that, again, discussion on resume and little bit of DBMS and all of that, little bit basic of that. And in the final round was an HR round, but there were simple HR questions. They asked me about D show, and I didn't study about D show. So that's what they like, what do you know about D show? And I was blank, I didn't know anything about D show. So I was thinking I
Yeah.
will be getting rejected because of the HR round, but thankfully that didn't happen. So yeah, that was the
So,
process.
how much of those CS fundamentals and questions pertaining to development were asked on that one-on-one interview part?
Nothing as such. Admin development, I think the closest to development they ask is object-oriented programming and nothing else. That like they won't you ask you anything like nothing on the back end thing. Though at best they can ask you like about the project, but that too is not rated on the code. It's like what is the motivation behind the project, what your project does, and how did you implement this feature on a high level scale. Nothing into development of coding or something like that. The only coding you'll do is around data structure and algorithms in the interview, nothing of the development side.
And are questions related to like system design asked in these interviews?
So in some of the companies they will ask you system design questions, but in DShaw it didn't happen. They didn't ask me any system design questions,
Okay,
but yeah, some of them
so
does. Yeah.
according to you, what were the vital and what played vital role in these interview process? I mean, apart from those computer part, from your perspective.
I think important is, of course, having a good coding knowledge and having a good problem solving skill, which you get by practicing on these online platforms. Apart from that, I think the ability to interact with the interviewer and like letting him know what your thought process is. I think that's a thing like
Yeah, like that's what you improved from where you were in your third year applying for the internships.
no, I think my ability to talk to people, I think it was right up there since my high school. So that I didn't improve. That was okay. So the thing I improved upon was focusing more on these subjects. So in my third year, in my fourth year, first semester, that is the seventh semester, I was rejected from Dunzo for the role of
Oh,
6 month intern in the final round. So they had 3 rounds after the online assessment, and I was rejected in the final round, final technical round. And the feedback was that I'm not well versed with the concept of object oriented programming. That was the feedback. So that then I improved, then I learned about object oriented programming. So my most of my rejections were based around like lack of knowledge in object oriented programming, or like sometime I remember in one of the interviews I was got rejected because I wasn't able to explain a couple of concepts in operating systems. So most of my rejections were around like these things around, apart from coding part, I was able to do in most of the interviews, but the technical knowledge like especially object oriented programming, I struggled at it. So that was that.
so if you could generalize the steps for being selected for an off-campus interview.
Yeah, so first off campus is mm, first thing is getting a referral. And the guy who gave me the referral for one position, he got over 300 resumes, right? When he posted on LinkedIn that he is offering to give a referral to worthy candidates, he got or around 300 resumes in his mailbox, out of which he gave the referral to just 27 of them. So first thing you should do is like, yeah, trying to get a referral. So so if like if some of your seniors or some of your friends or siblings, elder siblings is already in there in a company, then getting a referral is easy. But if you're giving asking for a referral to a complete stranger, your resume should be referral worthy, because that gets into the database that this candidate was referred by this person. And if yeah, and if you completely flank in an interview, then that's a bad impact on the person who gave the referral to. So that is why they are very skeptical about things like whom they want to give the referral. So that you should so your resume should be referral worthy. And by referral worthy I mean if you're applying for a software development engineer role, then you should have couple of good projects listed. If you have an internship experience, that should be listed there. Yeah, and your quota and your online platform ratings and your performances in online platforms on online contests, sorry. So these things should be there. These were things in my, apart from the internship experience, these things were there. I had a couple of good projects. I had ratings and performances of these. And these were the two things I missed in internship experience. But still, I most of the time I got the referral whomever I asked. So that is the first step in getting a referral, by having a good online profile, good comparative coding profile. Even if you don't do comparative coding, you are just doing lead code, that is also fine. You can mention a couple of that. Then you should have a couple of more projects to show and an internship experience to show. If you don't do comparative programming, that will also get you a referral. So that is the first step. Another is, of course, working on to cracking the interviews, working on your coding skills, practicing daily consistently, and having a good problem solving skill. That will just come by practicing. So in a nutshell, you just keep practicing daily every day a couple of problems from any website you like. And then apart from that, focusing a bit on I'll just name the subjects you need to focus on. It's object oriented programming, DBMS, that is database management system, CN, that is computer networks, and OS, that is operating system. So these are the four things you have to work upon, apart from data structure and algorithms. And you as someone mentioned, yeah, you mentioned like system design. System design is also asked in some of the companies, but it's quite rare. Like the first for a fresher, they don't usually ask system design. If you have 1 year experience, then they might ask. But system design is something optional, you can do or you may not do. So if you're targeting, let's say, Google doesn't ask system design. But if you're targeting, let's say, Amazon might ask a system design. So it's completely varied company to company. But yeah, it's, if you have time, then sure, go through system design as well. So these are the four things. Apart from that, like your communication skills, you don't get bogged down. You're talking with the interviewer. One thing tip I would like to give is the interview always helps. So if you ask for his help, he will give you a help. But you have to build that vibe. There should be a vibe that you two are working together to get to the solution. So that you have to build with the computer interviewer. And that helps in the long run. Like good communications is always helps, it never hurts. So that is another thing I would like to say. And yeah, for projects, any project you like, any tech stack you like, it doesn't matter. And I'm not talking about machine learning role. Then you have to have projects for machine learning. For normal generic SD role, it doesn't matter what projects you make. Just and it doesn't matter if you make a simple project. A simple project is also very effective. It's all very effective. It depends, the motivation behind it and the story behind it. The story you tell, why you built it, how you built it, that is more important. And it is not necessarily that you have to make a huge website like a Facebook clone or something, whatever, to impress the interviewer. Interviewer doesn't get impressed by that. You just have to have a good story as to why you built that website and how you built it, or app, whatever. So that is for the development side. And I think if you do all these things, you are well and good to go.
So I have another question, that does the requirements vary for product based and like the tech startups right now?
No, it doesn't. For startups, they will move. They what I have seen is the startups are more focused towards development side. So if you go for a well-established company, let's say Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Reach, or Media.net, or any of these, so they are completely focused on data section algorithms. They don't care about your development. They believe that if you have the problem-solving skill and you get to the interview, you will certainly get a hang of their code base and their tech stack no matter what. But for development side, there are for startups like some startups, let's say Grab. Grab is one company. Another company, I'm forgetting the name, Shipsy, I believe. These companies are there. They just have one round of data sheet algorithm, then followed by 3 rounds of development. So they will ask you JavaScript and all of that stuff. They'll make you open your code base and then tell me like, okay, explain this snippet of code what you have written, like what you have given in the resume. So they will make you open that GitHub link and tell you, okay, you have written this piece of code. Tell me what this does, and what if I change this? What will happen? So in startups, there are more development driven side. I consider myself as a CP person, not as a development person. So I was always spectacle to applying to. I don't even think I have applied to startups, but my acquaintances have, and that is what this is the review I got, that they are they're focused more on the development side rather than the computer programming side in startup. But for a well-established company, you can be truly sure that they are focused towards data algorithms.
So, since we have students from many streams here, so if you could give us some suggestions for the non-CS students who aspire to become software developers, and how they can crack a balance with their core subjects and the CS subjects for cracking these SD jobs.
Okay, I don't sorry. Sorry. So I don't know about uh, how uh, how you'll balance these subjects. I have no idea. I don't of course, you have to study, you have to pass the exams in those subjects. But what I would say is like it doesn't matter if you come from CE or CT. The interviewer just asks you for an introduction, and that's pretty much it. He never asks like, okay, you are from CSE, CE, like why you are into this. Not nothing of that sort. Everybody knows like if you have got into that interview, it doesn't matter which branch are you in. So the rest of the preparation is pretty same. Even this for CSE subjects, one edge CSE students have, that in college, like they will have these subjects of data science algorithms and OS, DBMS. These subjects will be there in the semesters, so that is one slight edge. But most of the guys didn't never study for college, like never religiously study for college. So I think we are all on the same level. If you are from CE, CSC, or EC, doesn't matter. Just follow the steps what is followed by a CSE guy, and will be no other issue. We are, yeah.
So, what will be your advice to the third year students who actually have their placements in the upcoming year to build a good profile
Okay, so third year
right now?
students is currently in fifth semester, right? Or in about to enter sixth semester, or
Yeah,
already
yeah.
entered. Okay, so I think for you need to start. If you're just starting out with programming, then you don't have time to get into comparative programming. So I suggest what you get started with a language, learn a language, and then start doing lead code. LeetCode is somewhere is an interview platform, interview preparation platform, and you can start doing questions from that regularly to LeetCode, and the rest of the subjects like and if you have guys preparing for GATE CSE subjects, GATE CSE, then you can just take the notes for DBMS CN and just scan through the notes, or even in online you can learn about DBMS CN. So I never studied this DBMS and computer networks online, because as I said, I was doing gate preparation. So when I got accustomed to that, I never had to study online. But yeah, there are resources to study these online as well. You can study these online apart from the basic lead code stuff for data structure algorithms. Invest your time wisely, be consistent. You can, let's say you have to every day you have to do these subjects. On a weekends you can take up these side subjects like DBMS and all of that, and be consistent. I think you guys have got a complete whole semester in front of you or even 2 semesters before the actual placements begin. So yeah, you can do that.
So, what are the things? we should concentrate upon except for coding and the development skills? If there's any.
As I said, just talking like having clear thoughts, not jumping around from one thought to another thought in an interview, and having clear communication with your interviewer as one of the things. Like this is interview specific. Apart from interview specific, I don't think. I also, yeah, I don't think there is another thing apart from coding and bit of development. So development is already needed to do projects. Main is the coding skill, this DSS skill for established product-based companies. I won't comment on startups because I said I never tried those. But yeah, apart from these, there is nothing else you have to do. These should be well enough. Good communication skills, good coding skills, and good projects. That is all.
Okay, so the next question is from a CP enthusiast. So, since you have a great experience with CP, so if you can share some light on how to ace the topics like range queries, GP, graph, and game theory.
Okay, so there is no secret to anything. You just go on Code Forces problem set, and pick a tag game theory. It will list down the questions, start solving from the most solved to the least solved, and you'll get a hang of it. That's it. No secret than practice. If you aren't able to do the problem, look at the editorial. If it's a trick or some topic which you haven't ever learned it, go on YouTube, go on Google, and or even Codeforce's blogs, learn it, come back to the solution, come back to the problem, solve it, and then move ahead. So practice is the only thing that you can do on your end, and it's the only way. There is no other shortcut to get good at these topics or any other topic for that matter of fact.
So another question is that those people, those who do not have any dev projects with them in their CV right now, can they apply for internships with having a good CP background?
Having a good CP background, yeah, you can apply, and I think you will get to the interview also. But having a good project is always a must. So if you don't have any internship experience, then you should have good projects. And to be honest, projects don't takes that much of time. You can Google what good projects you can make. So that is it isn't that, but there is a section where the interviewer will want to discuss. So if the interview is a 1 hour, 50 minutes you will do coding, that DSA, but there is 10 minutes where the interviewer will want to discuss your resume, your projects. And if you don't have any project, then that 50 minutes is blank, and you don't want that. So I suggest you still have time. Just make a project. It won't take, let's say, it won't even take more than 10 days. You can build a smart project or in 10 days, within 10 days, and get it on the resume and then apply. I would suggest that. Interview projects are a necessity, I believe.
And how much of CS subjects are asked during internship interviews for internships?
Yeah, as I said so, right? Those four subjects, what I mentioned, DBMS, computer networks and operating system, these are only asked, and how much of it, like, again,
Because for example, for a third year students, those subjects may be not covered in their colleges at that time.
okay, so maybe for internship they do ask less of CS fundamentals, but for sure, like among these subjects, OOPS and OS, these are the most important subject. DBMS too. So these three you have to do. You can leave out computer networks but these especially OOPS and OS you have to do, certainly do. So and OS is taught in the third semester, so even for a CS guy, I don't know why. I think it should be fine. It is OS is taught in the third semester. You always do data structure algorithms. So and also I believe OOPS is never taught. So OOPS you have to learn it by yourself. So better learn it now.
Okay, so the next part of the Q&A session will be taken by Tiasha. So Tiasha, you're up.
Hello, Akibda. Welcome again.
Yeah, hi.
So, does CGPA really matter, like in an interview?
No, it doesn't. But if you have a very less CGPA, let's say by less I mean below 7 in 6 or something, They might ask you, it never happened to me, but I am guessing they will they will ask you what happened to your CGP, why is it so less. But it isn't like if you say I have a 9.9 CGPA, they will get impressed or anything. They will not be impressed. If you say 8, well and fine. If you say 7, well and fine. If you say 6, they might ask, okay, what happened, why is your CGPA so low. So if you are from other backgrounds, as in EC, you can simply say I'm not interested in EC, I'm more interested in computer science, and that's why I'm giving this interview. If you are in CS, then okay, look for an excuse. I don't.
Okay, and so like how did you manage coding and college studies? Because college life is also about having a bit of fun, I guess.
Yeah, so so there are three components: fun, college study, and coding, right? That's what you mentioned. So for me, there was just two components: fun and coding. I didn't do college much. I wasn't interested in that. So my focus was just to somehow get a decent grade. As mostly I studied before the exams. So there is this cliche thing that CU makes you work hard, and which is also true. When you see compare your friends in who are in MECOT or anything else, you have to work hard for your grades. But what I believe was it isn't that bad too much. Like it's a bit overrated if you study smartly, and I think it can be done if semesters are starting in a yeah, in a week. Let's say you can study for a week, and if you have good friends who make good notes, you can just borrow those notes. And that's what I did. I have good friends who made notes. So the class topper was my friend, and he used to just provide me notes. And everyone in the batch, it was small batch, everyone had the notes. So I studied mostly for a week before the exams. And for the subjects that weren't in gate syllabus, for the subjects which were in gate syllabus, like all those DBMS, all of that, those are in the gate syllabus. For that I was usually prepared well beforehand, because I was also preparing for gate. For the rest of the subjects, let's say I don't know how many are there from CSE over here, but there is one cancer subject called optimization techniques. I don't know if I see any name. No, I don't know.
There
So
is.
that there is, right.
There is.
So
It's a deadly subject. We agree.
yeah, so it's a cancerous subject, and in our time it was taken by a legendary RD sir. So
Right now also.
It's same, and we are struggling with it right now.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I used to spot these subjects. Okay, this is the subject I can't take lightly. So for those subjects, I used to study sometime before. But there are some easy subjects I can just neglect it. For the gate subjects, I didn't do much. I just went with the gate preparation. And for the subject which I spotted earlier that okay, I need to do, otherwise I'll fail in this subject, I studied, let's say 2 week by seriousness. I mean 3 weeks before the exam, not just whole semester. 3 weeks before the exam. For the rest of the subject, I just like 1 week before the exam. So that duration, like 1.5 months of the semester exams and all these practicals and all, it took 1.5 months. So I didn't do much coding in that. And rest of the time I used to just bunk classes, attend few lectures if I wanted to attend. I attended labs. Labs was a must, so I attended all the labs. And but I didn't attend many lectures. Yeah, I'm not proud of it. I'm not saying that you should do it, but yeah, but you should be clever enough to understand if it's worth it. If you're thinking like, okay, this professor is really good and this is teaching me something, and this thing will be asked in gate, or it will be asked in an interview, then you should certainly attend that class. You should be smart in where you invest the time. Yeah.
Okay, and like coming from a three-tier college like CU, like what is the difference that you face in an interview, like from competition from an NIT or an IIT student, in a sense?
So yeah. I'm not sure if I faced any competition from IIT and NIT, because they already have their own campus placement. Like not legit one-to-one competition. Like there is two places and one is from IIT and the one is from. I didn't face that, but what during my 2 years during my 2 months at Triple ITH, which is of course a tier one college in India. It's the top five or top six colleges in for computer science. What I saw that there is intense competition on campus also, so it's not all rosy over there also. It's the same thing in off campus also, but uh, But like if you have done your preparation right, you don't have to worry about it. People won't judge you that just because you are from TL. So this judging thing happens at the initial level. The people are skeptical to give you referral if you don't have a very good resume, or if you don't have a very good college. But if they give you a referral, if you get the online assessment and you're there in the interview process, it goes out of the window which branch, which college. It doesn't matter what is your CGPA. All of these things doesn't matter. It just depends on how you perform in that interview.
Okay, and next thing will be like, what did you like? In a sense, you prepared a lot to get into DE Shaw. So what you prepared, what you learned, and what now you're working on, how has that changed? Like,
Okay, so I'm still learning, and as a software development engineer, you'll always keep learning until you retire. Finally, it's a continuous process. You have to get just accept that. So, what changed is mostly those things. What I believe is basically by doing this coding and all of that stuff, you acquire a thing called problem solving skills, and these are and this is why the interviewers test you. Now, they will never ask you to code let's say a segmentary or whatever in your job. You'll never be requiring those, not even like set segmentary. Let's let you know, never be requiring dynamic programming in your um, in your job. But still they ask you dynamic programming question. The reason being they want to test your problem solving ability. So if you have the problem solving skill, you will be able to they are confident that you will be able to tackle our problems day to day. You will be able to tackle your day to day work in your job. So that is because and they don't ask questions of particular tech stack, and this happens with every company. The reason being there are so many wide variety of topic. They just want to see your problem solving. They don't want to get in your tech stack. They will teach you the tech stack, or they will give you the resources to learn the tech stack yourself. And if you have the sufficient problem solving skills, you will get accustomed with your day-to-day job. But as such, there is no direct day-to-day relation that you can do this to excel at a job. You can do bit of development if you like it, but it's not like you should not be thinking about, okay, how much will learning this be helpful in my job. No, it will not be, because these things are what I find is quite unrelated. The work I do at DShaw the versus the work I did in my BTech. So these things are completely unrelated to me. The only thing constant is the problem solving skill I acquired during my BTech days, which are helpful to me right now.
okay, so before like working for DE Shaw, you faced a lot of failures in your interviews. So can you like share the experience? What did you learn from those failures, which ultimately helped you to get a job?
Yeah, sure. So, as I said, I was rejected by Dunzo for 6 months intern, and my feedback was there that I lacked object-oriented programming knowledge. So I worked upon that. It's similar to like it was it was not necessarily I was happy after getting a rejection. Of course, I was rejected, but I used to look at on the positive side, like what I can do to improve upon. So all these I was also rejected by Media.net, and yeah, this was the only company which rejected me on my coding skills. So I wasn't able to solve the one problem which was given to me, and it was about it was on combinatorics. So it was a mathy problem on coding. You have to be good at combinatorics to get to the formula to that and then code data. So that was and I didn't wasn't able to get to the formula. So then I learned, okay, I should be focusing a bit or more on combinatorics. So what I suggest is, if you get failure, then you will get many. Trust me, if you aren't very lucky, you will get many failures. Just ask further. Many good companies will give you the feedback. Just ping the HR, like, can I get the feedback? Where was I going wrong? And work upon it. As simple as that.
Okay, so can you now share us some thumbs rule to improve our resume, like how to get it more shortlisted, I
Yeah,
guess.
as I said, a couple of good projects. If you have an internship experience, list them down, and the comparative programming handles rating. If you are like confident, okay, this is worthy mentioning. Not many people have achieved this. I can like if I can be in the top 10 of the 100 applying, if you think that is there. So you can mention your competitive programming ratings and your performance in competitive coding contests. So these were there in my resumes. And yeah, this is pretty much to get your resume referral worthy.
Like, is there a certain kind of projects like referrals are looking for?
No, no, there is no kind. Of course, it should be a computer science project. You can't be like, I built this tool in digital logic in EC, and you are mentioning that for software development. That won't work. It has to be a computer science project. You have to have to written some code, and you have to have that along with the name of the project and the description of the project in the resume. You have to have a paste link which will be directed to GitHub, and you have to have their code by written by you over there. But there is nothing, sir. So my projects were, I made a tester for testing two solutions. One was brute force, one was one was Mm, one was optimal solution, and my test my and simple I wrote a bash script. I used bash, and it could test the two solutions and find a test case where they were failing. So it sounds pretty tough, but actually it's pretty easy. And the second one was I made a Sudoku solver in Python. So these were only two my major projects, and there is no particular kind of projects you're looking. It can be any tech stack, it could be anything. It just have to be coding. And as I said earlier, you should have a good story as to why you made this project. So you can make a Facebook clone, and but people will ask you, why did you make this Facebook clone, and you will have no answer for that. What is the use of that? And that is not a good project. I agree that it took a lot of effort. It takes a lot of development skills to make a Facebook clone, but again, it's not a good project because you don't have a story to back it up. So just have a good project where you have done some coding and have a good story related to it as to why you did it and how you did it. That's it for the project.
Okay, so now I'll ask the audience to ask questions. Everybody can write in the chat box and I'll read out from the chat box.
Chirantan, you had a question. You can go for it.
Yeah. So hello, Akibda. I am uh, I am an EC undergrad, presently in my third year, and I am interested in applied machine learning and data science. So I have done a few projects, and I also done an internship at CDAC, although it was a research internship. So I want to crack a product-based company internship in my third year, like after the sixth sem break. So will my EC profile be like will it be even at the same level as a CSC undergrad? And also, will my research internship help bridge that gap, if at all?
There is no gap as such. You will not be you will not be any different from any CSC student applying. As I said, if you get to an interview, there is literally the interview doesn't care which college, which branch are you from. So there will be no gap. You will be at the same level as that of a CSC student. So if you're worrying about like the CSC student will hold an edge, then you don't have to be worry about it. It's all at the same level.
And also, getting a research internship is, I guess, a lot easier than getting a actual
Mm.
internship. So, how should I go about making my profile more visible to others for like considering my like?
Okay, so I have a friend who did couple of research internships, and even from he went to some IITs, and now he's at a product-based company. You can ping me on LinkedIn, and I will give you his profile, and you can carry on forward. He is also in machine learning. He was also interested in machine learning, and he did research internships in machine learning. I am not
Mhm.
commenting on it because I haven't done any research internships myself, so that's why I'm not commenting on it. But you can ping me offline, and I'll guide you. I'll ask him to help you out. Is that fine? Yep. Okay.
Akib, actually there are a few gap year students, like 1 year, 2 year gap, and they're a bit worried. Like, is it detrimental to the career or like interview?
Okay. So yeah, sure. The only company which asked whether I have an air gap or not was TCS. no other product based company or even service based company has that. No, no, sorry. Yeah, TCS and another company, I don't remember, but there are a couple of companies, or both of them were service based, who asked like whether I have an air gap or whatever you have gap. But none of the product based companies ask whether I have an air gap also. So if your target is for product based company, I don't think it is of any worry. You have 2 years or 3 years gap, it doesn't matter.
Okay, so here is a first time enthusiast as well. So he's asking, like, is there any advice you would want to give him? Like, he wants to start coding and everything from first sem itself.
Yeah, so that's good to hear that you're starting out early, and I think I missed out on this. But as I said, I was saying my story that I started from third semester. So that is one regret I have. I always have that I wasted 2 semesters doing nothing. But yeah, it's good starting early. So my advice will be get a hold on programming language. You can learn from YouTube or like what I did at that time was because I was lacking everything. I didn't know anything. I went to a personal tutor. But if you have some knowledge, you can do start upon, or if you have already done during school, then you can simply start with any platform of your choice. Go and start solving problems. If you don't understand, if you don't get to the solution of the problem, then refer to the editorial, and on and on for 4 years, and hopefully you'll get to a product this company.
Okay, so many people have this confusion that which language to go first.
Which language to go first? I went
For freshers. I mean, there are two types of people: those who had C++ in their school in 11th, 12th, and some of them I mean, some of them had biology, I guess, in 11th, 12th. So it varies for both of them.
okay, so what I did was I learned. I was also start as I said in my second semester. I started learning a language. So first language I learned was C, and C is very similar to C++. So I switched to C++ within a day. Within a day, like okay, what is STL and what is that? So I switched from C to C++ within a day, and ever since I have used C++ for all the online. Even in my interviews, I've always used C++. So you can start with C and then switch to C++. I think that is the best way. Also some people some people like um, some people start with Python. I don't want to comment on it because like starting out with Python might not be that good, because Python has is so advanced. It has so much it's such a powerful tool that you don't get to the base of the coding. Like what I believe is what you should be able to write a sort algorithm yourself uh, before you start using let's say arrays.sort in Java, or whatever sort function, inbuilt sort function in any language. So for that, I'm not sure how much Python is helpful, but yeah, I would suggest if you're just starting out, start with C, C++, and then definitely learn Python. Python is very must, and if you and in your job, there is a high chance that you will be doing work in Python. So yeah, learn Python eventually, but for starting out, I would suggest C, then quickly move to C++, do some coding there. I think give your interviews in C++, but learn Python if you want to.
Okay, and Akida, did you what YouTube channels did you follow for getting latest updates?
Latest update is as in
For I mean, for resources like one, there's popular love bird, yeah.
okay, no,
For
no,
yeah,
no.
like that.
So I followed. If I like first the first channel I followed in competitive programming was that of Ericto. I don't know if you guys know about him.
Yeah,
So he's
yeah,
one
Yes,
of
I do.
the,
yes, we do.
yeah, if he's one of the topmost competitive programmer, and I followed his channel religiously. Like I think I've almost watched all of his videos on his main channel. So I used to follow his channel and his live streams. Ericto was one. Then while doing lead code, when I was there was a time I was just doing lead code, no CP. Then I used to follow this Striver. I think almost all of you must be knowing if you have any if you have to
Yes.
suggest Striver. Yeah, I
Yeah,
followed
he's from
Striver.
Jalpaiguri College, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's joining Google Verso now, I think. So yeah, I followed him. And what are the other channels? I think more couple of more competitive programming channels, like one of them was Utkarsh Gupta. He is again a red coder from one of the topmost red coders in India. He is from IIT Varanasi. So I used to follow his channel also. His channel was mostly because like after a particular contest, he used to upload solutions, explanations to the solutions to that problem that came in the contest. I used to follow that. And also there is one other guy called Colin Gallen, sorry, Colin Gallen. He's from America, and he also is a red coder, and he also provides solution after a particular contest. So these are the main channels I used to follow. And for roadmaps or anything of that sort, uh, I think for development side, I didn't. For roadmaps, I never such followed any such thing, because whatever projects I did, I learned on the fly. Okay, this tech stack is used. I learn it on fly. And also I had a course from Coding Ninjas on web development. I'm not sure how much helpful it was to me, but it wasn't that helpful as I believe. But that got me like started with the development thing. So after that, I learned one thing, that to learn a tech stack in development, all you have to do is just start learning it without worrying about any particular roadmap or anything of that sort. So yeah, roadmap things I didn't follow. So when someone mentioned Love Bubber, no, I did not follow Love Bubber or anything of that.
Okay, so Saraswat has a question. You may ask.
Hello, yeah. Am I audible?
Yeah, yeah, you are.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm third year of my computer science, and I wanted to ask this thing like when you apply for the companies, you don't always get the this online coding test link. So, what is that factor which decides that your resume is shortlisted for that's good enough to send you the online coding test link? So, this is one thing I want to clarify.
So did you apply with a referral or without a referral?
Without a referral.
So I would suggest always apply with a referral. Like if there is no chance of getting a referral, then you again apply from the direct portal. But applying without a referral, I think it's pretty tough. Because I don't even think they look at it, or even if they look at it, I can tell you what they look for is that if let's say they search for keywords, like they search for Codeforce's rating of this and Codesave rating. So there is an ATS, automated tracking system or something of that sort. These have companies have, where they search for keywords. Okay, if they are looking for a Python developer, they search for Python in your resume. So it's an automated thing. They will search for Python. They will search for coding platform links and all of that, rating, all of that. These all happen if you apply directly. Might also happen if you apply with a referral, but always apply with a referral. Try and get a referral. Your chances of getting the online assessment link will improve drastically if you apply with a
Okay,
referral.
so one more thing I wanted to ask, like, what rank, what amount of score or rank that is in Code Forces or Code Chef is generally regarded as good by the recruiters? Like, is it 5,
Uh,
1500, 1600?
I think by rank you mean rating, right?
Yeah, rating.
So I think it's depend from person to person, but I would say like the best ever thing is like if you are almost like you will all anybody will refer you is like 6 star on CodeChef and candidate master on Code Forces. I think if you get this, you are good to go and crack any company. You will always get referral, and you will always crack that company also, I believe. But apart from that, I think a minimum of 4 or 5 star on CodeChef can be regarded as good, and 1600 on that is expert on Code Forces will be regarded as good.
Okay, yeah, that's it. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
So everyone, do you have any more questions to ask Akibda?
I see a couple of questions in the chat. If you can just unmute yourself and ask your question verbally, it will be better. Everyone will get to know it. Then.
Yeah, sure. First, Ankon Kumar, you had a question? Is he here?
Yeah, Akibda.
Yeah, yeah.
how much is actually Python required for a job profile? For example, in my class, from actually had Python in my class 11, 12. So that's actually my base of computer science.
Okay.
So how much is actually required for a job profile?
As in you want to like what day-to-day work, as in how much Python is required in day-to-day work.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's say if you
Plus for
let,
plus for interviews, and for the day to day work.
as I said, for interviews, you can pick up any language of your choice. I always picked up C++ because that's what I did in BTech. So I'm most comfortable in C++. I use C++, but many people choose Python. So language is not on barrier in interviews, and you can choose any language you want. As for your day-to-day work, so it varies completely. So let's say you get into yeah, Amazon Pay team in Amazon, and their uses their tech stack is Java. So what amount of Python will be required in that role? It's zero. And let's say you get into let's say you get into my role. I'm doing work in Python, so your day-to-day work will revolve around Python. So that is why they don't ask tech specific questions in interviews, right? Because the tech stack differs varies from company to company. You can't be like, okay, this company doesn't use Python, I will not apply for this company. Of course you have to apply, and if you get selected, then that means that they are like satisfied enough that you will be able to do your job. You will pick up this language quickly and learn about the tech stack quickly. So the language doesn't matter. Does
Yeah,
that answer your question, or was I should I?
Actually, I had another question. How do you use Python in your daily work?
Most of the automation I do is in Python, so yeah, Python is required for my daily work, like you quite a lot.
Okay, Akib, I have one question. Like when you are practicing in Code Forces or CodeShift, and it happens that at times your rating keeps on falling, and this demotivates the coder a lot. So at that time, how to keep oneself motivated?
Yeah, so happened to me that I used to get demotivated when I used to have a rating drop, but I used to think, okay, I had a minus 50 in this contest, but my chances of getting a positive delta is much higher now in the next contest, isn't it? Because if you drop minus 50, then it's tough to again get a minus. It's more likely that you will get a plus. So that was my motivation. I used to practice harder even for the next contest. So that was my motivation, like, okay, I got a negative delta here, but in the next quarter it will be a lot easier to get a positive delta because my rating is underrated right now. Now I'm not at my optimal level. So that was one motivation. Sometimes it used to happen that again used to get delta, a negative delta, but again that the same thing again next contest there is more motivation for me to perform better. This happened, so these tricks I used to do when I started out, but at the end it doesn't even matter. The rating doesn't matter. You just do it for the fun. Like the number of questions you do, that matters. The quality of questions you do, that matters. I think you don't have to worry about the rating. Like, of course you worry about the rating if there is a change, like if you are getting from 4 star to 5 star or 5 star to 6 star, then yeah, of course you are worried about the rating that you want to perform. But if you are comfortable in one zone, then the rating, and you are quite experienced at it, the rating doesn't matter. You just do for the fun of it, and for to get practice. Yeah.
Okay, and one more question is that like in some problems we require classical algorithms like Dijkstra and Bellman-Ford, etc.
Yeah.
So like in those problems, if I don't know the algo, and so I want to attempt that problem, so will I or should I learn the algo by solving the problem, or must I learn the algo and then attempt the
Yeah.
problem?
No, so you start solving random problems. You come across an algorithm where you come across a problem where you don't know the required algorithm. Just go and learn that algorithm and come back to the same problem and solve it and move ahead. This is how I learned all the algorithms.
Okay,
Like,
thank you.
yeah.
Hello, Akibda.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm Shubhranil. I'm from third year. So I wanted to ask you a question is how much importance does open source contributions, I mean, how much importance does the recruiters attach to the open source contributions and projects as such?
okay. So these might be like open source contributions, like might not might be, for surely it should be helpful, but I didn't contribute to any open sources, so I'm not the right person to say. But I think you have a senior called Pratik. He's in fourth year right now. He cracked GSOC, and he like has contributed to open source. So you can talk to him as, and he's giving also interviews right now. So you can talk to him about like do they discuss open source, and in what depth do they discuss open source, and whether or not you should be putting time into it. But yeah, it's always good to have different things on a resume, but I think he will be the right person to guide you. I'm not saying it because I haven't done open source myself.
Sure, sure. Thanks.
Purvi, you had a question. You can go for it. Yeah, sure. Okay. Oh, so I think she has a YouTube channel. So how you should manage both YouTube and college?
No, okay, YouTube channel on what?
Urvi, can you specify?
Okay,
Okay.
JE preparation. Okay, that's an interesting question. Uh, you have what? I think this then YouTube channel gets into your extracurricular activities. As I said, there was two component in my college life. I used to have fun, and I used to do coding. So I think though your YouTube channel should go into that fun category, and you should not come into that coding. It should not eat up time for the coding part you have allotted for the day. So that should be like, if you are having fun creating content on YouTube, then yeah, sure, that is your getaway from all this stuff. Then fine, yeah, you can put that in the fun category and invest some time in it and do coding for, like, let's say you have allotted 2 hours for coding today. You do 2 hours of coding, and then you do your YouTube channel or whatever you want.
Okay. Another pending question is from Onkon. Where is your job location right now, and what is your package?
Okay, so my job location is right now I'm at home in Kolkata, but my job location, because of COVID, but my job location is Hyderabad. And as for the package, I have signed a bond, so I cannot reveal the package as such in public platform. So but
Okay.
if I think if you guys just Google it online or go on lead code compensation, there are many articles on on the for any such, not just my package or my compensation. For any role you want to see what is the package, okay, what is Amazon hiring for HD1, HD2, just go on lead code search and compensation, or just Google stuff around, you'll get to know there.
Okay. Sure. So, does anyone have any more questions? You can go about it.
Hello, Akida.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm from first year student. I have a question that how can I start coding as a offline sources or online sources?
By start coding, you mean start learning a language?
Yes, yes, from basics.
So what I did was I went to a personal tutor, but you can start online also. I went to a personal tutor. The reason being, like, didn't know anything about it, and I feared like on online I will be sort of lost or something. And also didn't browse YouTube that much. So this was back in 2017. So also didn't know about these resources that well. Okay, these good many resources are there, but yeah, if you want, you can start with online. Otherwise, you can get a personal tutor but that but yeah, I would suggest at this day and age, like also everything is online, I would suggest go on YouTube or anything, find a good resource for yourself and just invest time it. Yeah, online is better nowadays.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Agibda. This is Shomik from third year. So my question was like for the students who are like not much of a coder like me. I'm not much interested in coding, but I'm I know the whereabouts of it. But I'm more interested in computer networking and as such things. So what is the approach in interviews for those kind of students?
But you want to get into you want to get a software development engineer role, is it right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So for if you're not interested in competitive programming, don't do it, but you have to be somewhat interested doing lead code. So lead code is a website for, as I said earlier, it is a website for interview preparation, and it is much easier than competitive programming. So I'm guessing that you're not interested that much into competitive programming because you find it weird and like it's very difficult to start off with, right? That might be one of the reason you're not interested in competitive programming. But lead code is something that is very easy, is very user friendly. It's like anyone can start off with. So I would suggest give some time to lead code, because even if you're applying for startups, if you don't have a decent knowledge in data science algorithms, and you have a lot of knowledge in whatever field, like you mentioned computer networking or any of that, but they still, for SD role, they will ask yeah, this or data science algorithm. So let's say you are applying for Cisco is, I think, is sort of computer network company. It focuses on computer networking, but even in their SD role, they will ask a couple of rounds of data structure algorithm. So data structure algorithm, you should try lead code. And I think even if you're not interested in competitive programming, I think you'll like doing lead code, and it should not be such of an issue that you're not able to do it. You should be able to do it.
Okay, okay, thank.
I think let's wrap up this session right now. And before that, it will be great if everybody can switch on their mic camera so that we can take a snapshot of this session.
Yeah, sure. By everybody, you mean like literally everybody, right? Because no one else has.
Yeah. Okay, come on, guys. Okay, let's take a picture here. Some more people.
I think that's about everyone.
Okay, 1 minute. Let's take another one. Smile, guys. Okay. So that's a wrap up. Thank you very much, Akib.
That was a great session and like very really insightful. Like I always wanted to like speak with you and all to have first-hand experience of how the campus interviews and everything like off-campus interviews go. So thanks for this great session. Ranju,
And actually, Akib, you were one of the first persons we learned about doing CP when we are in our first year.
Yes, actually, when we just arrived in college and
The
all,
only person who was popular.
we got connected on LinkedIn, and we were like, like the only person we knew about is you. So, like, we always wanted to have a session with you. So,
Yeah, sure. It was great pleasure talking to with you guys. I hope the session was helpful to everybody who attended in some way.
this was
So
really motivational for us as well.
yeah, and very thank you for all the kind words, and I wish you all the best. For I hope all of you get a good placement, get into a top notch company, And also, if you have a YouTube channel, it also, I hope it shoots up also. That is there also. Thanks a lot, guys. It was fun talking to you. I hope all other mentors, like alumni mentors, also agree to a meeting. I'll let the word in my batch also, because I think many of them are in good companies also. That are, have good. I think you guys can have a session on gate thing also, right? So there, I think
Yeah, yeah,
in my
we
batch.
had that in the earlier batch with Orkoda. We had
We had with Orkoda.
Yeah, so
Orkode.
one of my friends is in also in IISc. I don't know if you remember. I don't know her name. That is Anurita Ghosh. She's also an IISc. So she's a great
Okay,
topper
that
from
will be
our batch.
great.
Yeah. So I'll let in a word with her, like if she is agreeing to that, and you can guys have a session on Gate, on even like if not just Code Club CU, then some other party can have a session on MBA. So one of my friends is in Auxiliary Jamshedpur, so I can let him a
Wow.
word. I'll let the word in the group WhatsApp group for like letting for having these alumni sessions. The rest was all good. Hope all the best for your future, and I see you next time. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Signing off, guys.